Do you ever wonder how great leaders in the community make things happen? When they encounter new, unexpected challenges like a pandemic, how do they continue to successfully make an impact? Welcome to That Sounds Terrific, the podcast that connects you with these amazing people. Get insights on what they do to meet their goals, find out how you can help them in their mission, and learn their methods so you can be more successful at what you do. Welcome to That Sounds Terrific with host Nick Koziel.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of That Sounds Terrific. Joining me today is Jane Lehman. Thanks for being on the show. I am so excited to have you here. We've interacted so many different times, and it's time to bring some of what you do to our audience.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. So I wanted to ask the first question, the who are you question, because you've done so many different things, and it's quite opposite kind of what you're doing now. But can you tell the audience, who you are and what you're doing now? But we're going to get back into some of the things you did before that.
Yeah, that's always a great question. At my age, I've done a lot, right? I was a professional musician for 30 years. And when I think back of how that even started, I can't believe I did it. I played the French horn. I had to fight against parents and counselors and things like that. Girls don't do that, but I did it. And I wasn't thinking about beating somebody or fighting against people. I just loved the French horn and I did it. And when it didn't look like the career was going too well here in the United States, I picked up my instrument and went over to Germany, and I ended up staying there for 25 years. So I played in Germany, lived part of that time in France, just over the border. That's hard for some Americans to, unless you live up on the Canadian border or whatever, or the Mexican border, you can't imagine living just over a border from somewhere. But it was a great life, and I traveled the world because of that instrument, all over the world, from China to all of Europe, and it was just an incredible career. But there came a time where suddenly I lost the passion. And I knew it was time to do something different because I didn't feel like I was helping people, and it was really eating at me. And that's when I made that change to move back to the United States and start all over.
Yeah, and helping people is a lot about what this show is for, So, let's talk. I definitely going to go back and talk a little bit more about your music career, but I do want to know, what is it that brought you back to the United States, and kind of what are you doing now, and how are you helping people?
Whew.
Yeah.
There came a window of opportunity, and this is another one that's hard for people to imagine. The orchestra merged, and it was going to be quite large, and they needed to, as I lovingly say, get rid of about 30 or 40 people, and they could not fire anyone. This is very different than in the US. So they started offering early retirements. I was too young for that. But then they said, for me, the magic word, severance. And I was like, ooh, I can get money and then go home and start over, which was the whole idea. I wanted to do something different. So I took that. And even when they were negotiating with me, the lawyer at the radio station where I worked, he said, Frau Lehman, you can't do this. It's dangerous. And I said, no, you don't get it. I'm American. I grew up there. It's all good. I can start over. And they could not fathom that we do something like that. And at the time, I also thought I was doing something people would think I was crazy. I found out that's exactly the wave. Without me knowing it, I joined a wave of the baby boomers that are nowhere near ready to retire. And so I came back to the United States. The severance was huge. I bought my house. I paid cash for my house. This is 2006. And people said I was stupid for doing that. You don't do that. It's a waste of money. Well, 2008 came, and I was the only person I knew that owned my house. And I felt, I was like, oh, I made a good financial decision. Then I put money away, which I also lost a huge chunk of money in the stocks. But I was set. And I decided when I saw that money, that like $100,000 was gone, I went, okay, it hurt, and I'm going to allow myself 3 days to cry over this, but I never actually held that money. It was numbers on a screen, and I decided to let it go and move forward. I became a certified mediator. I saw a way that I could help people there, and it was through mediation that I learned about the company Legalshield that I'm with now, because I saw the need. If you've ever been in a court, people are scared, nervous, frustrated, angry, confused. all because they've never had the ability to talk to a lawyer. And it's even if they're not going in front of a judge, they might be filing paperwork for a property or something, but they don't know where to go, what to do. And I wanted to see people walking in that courthouse that's supposed to be there for us. I want them walking in there with confidence. And so I saw the need for these services. And that's when I got started with Legalshield.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have that access. And it sounded like even in your story, you had a couple opportunities where people were talking about, you need to think about this, legal terms, and not many people can lose the money like you did and just kind of go, okay, and move forward. I think I would have taken a couple more days than 3 days to kind of get over that.
Oh, I'd still be getting over it, but really, why? I firmly do not believe in worry. And that goes more into a faith-based conversation. But worry, I've never seen it help anyone. I've never seen it aid a situation. I've never seen worry do anything but bring people down. And I just decided at some point, I'm done. I will not worry because it doesn't help me now. That doesn't mean I won't be concerned, which is different. Concern causes me to learn more about the situation or the subject. It causes me to want to, focus more on understanding it and going towards it rather than moving back from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Very important. So why this company? Why did you really gravitate towards Legalshield?
When I learned about Legalshield, I had been, as I mentioned, in Germany for 25 years. Now, the company Legalshield is we're now in our 51st year, 51 years. At the beginning, 50 years ago, when Harlan Stonecipher, the CEO, he had been hit head on in an accident. The woman was fully ticketed for that accident, but when he came out of the hospital, she sued him. And he almost went bankrupt trying to defend himself. He thought he had all the coverages that you need: auto, health, home, and life, right? And he said, this is not right. There's nothing legal to protect me. And he started looking. Well, Germany already had legal insurance for like 40 years, since the beginning of the last century. And he took that concept and built on it and made it what it is today, to where it's not insurance, which is what that was. And I always had that legal insurance when I lived in Germany, but Shield takes it a step further to where we want you calling anytime you have a question. Call up and ask for help, right? It changes the whole scene.
Yeah, it's good to have people in your corner that understand things at a different level. I can read through a contract, and I've approved contracts and different things that I have been in, but I don't understand maybe to the extent of a lawyer what legalese is in a document. What does it really mean? So it's important that we do have that. And I could see how that can get very expensive for, especially small companies or individuals that might be encountering these things, as a consultant or as a small business on a daily basis. Having contract reviewed by a lawyer can be very expensive. So
a lot of people tell me, well, I can read my own contracts. That's true. But do you know what was left out of that contract that might be beneficial to you? A lawyer will know that. We can all read, but do we understand the legalese of it? And it's so important. One small sentence, one word can change the entire meaning.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to get lawyers involved for that. No matter how small your business is, no matter how small your family is, or if you're an individual.
Yeah. And in this day and age, business is happening over, multiple counties, multiple states, and even internationally in a way that it never was before. And understanding those legal limits, you may be very versed in the law in your state or your specific area, but you throw out, a business agreement that, is across multiple counties, multiple states. It's a totally different ballgame. There might be things that you can't even put in a contract in Wyoming that you can put in New York.
Right. Oh gosh, you just brought up so many things. I'll give you an example.
Sure.
I very quickly, like within 2 months of learning that my father at the age of 90 had cancer, and he said, they want me to have radiation. That could kill me. He goes, then I'm 90, a cold could kill me. He said, I just want to have fun. that changed my life. I didn't need to discuss it any further. I called my kids and said, I'm moving to Texas. And they were like, wait, we just talked 2 days ago, Mom. Well, I got down to Texas. I said, my dad wants to have fun and I want to make sure he has it. And the woman buying my house back up in Michigan quit her job a week before Quicken Loans was supposed to have her loan ready. That killed everything. She didn't get a loan. I was dumbfounded. I felt lost. And she said, well, just give me back my $5,000 deposit and we'll find another way. And I said, lady, you just left me 1,500 miles from an empty house. I'm not giving you a dime back. I don't even know what to do right now. Well, she sued me. And if you've ever gotten an envelope, big, thick envelope in the mail, and when you open it, it says state of Michigan in this case, you're being sued, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's like everything, the blood rushed out of, it went down to my feet and I didn't know what to do. I called my law firm. The Texas law firm doesn't do law in Michigan, but this is a nationwide network of law firms. So they sent that back up to Michigan and a lawyer was sent on my behalf to court. I never had to leave Texas. And on the day of the court date, the lawyer called me and he said, Ms. Lehman, I just want you to know we won the case and she still wants to buy your house. I said, oh. The lawyer said, don't worry. We told her to take a hike. You're not going to deal with it. Woo. So that was across state lines. Now that was personal.
Sure.
But a business owner that I know, one of my clients up in Michigan had leased equipment from New Jersey for his veterinary clinic. He said it was a $25,000 piece of equipment and it stopped working and it was under warranty. The company was nice to him in the first 2 phone calls, then they stopped taking his calls. He said, I have no idea where to go right now. So I thought I'd use that legal thing Jane has. Well, that's one way to look at it, one way to describe it. He used it. He called his law firm. They connected him to New Jersey. New Jersey wrote a letter. He said, and he just left it. He said, within 2 weeks, I had my $25,000. That company saved me $25,000. He said, I'll never Legalshield now. And I was like, yeah, that's that. After my court case, I knew I will never be without it because I did everything by the book. We do. Good, bad things happen to good people. Because that woman turned around and sued me for no reason. It was frivolous as could be. Yeah. So, but you're still.
And that's the thing that goes on in America quite frequently is these senseless lawsuits. Everybody sues everyone for everything. You look at someone the wrong way and, well, I'm going to sue you. Emotional damages. Well, and with a mug like mine, I might cause, emotional damages just by the look, but still shouldn't get sued about it.
Right. The Germans call us the USA.
Yeah.
For good reason.
I think so.
And plenty of examples.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I said they've given us plenty of examples why we would be called that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. And so what I was going to bring up was these stories that you have and that you share, you have such an effective social media platform, an effective voice that can really make people relate to like what's going on and why you need the services that you provide, but also why you need to really think critically. How did that develop over time? How did you get that voice that you have and that you use on LinkedIn?
Oh, wow. That came over time for sure. And then a gentleman on LinkedIn by the name of John Knotts gave me a challenge to post daily for 60 days, which I did. I'll shorten this story. And I asked John, I said, why did you help me through that? I only met him once at a local chamber event, and he kept giving me advice on, advice as in do a post, a poll, do a slide share, do a video, kind of guiding me. And I had to figure this stuff out, but it was what a learning experience. And I said, why did you help me? And he told me, I've given this to every one of my clients who pay me thousands of dollars, and not one of them has done it. And I thought, wow, it's these small steps we take that make a difference. And I went from having 1,900 followers at that time to having over 11,000 now and building just because of being consistent, providing information that helps people. If it opens your mind a little and makes you think, and maybe some people don't like it, that's okay too. Talk to me on LinkedIn. The comments are there for a reason. Right. And it's a great place to have discourse without having that Facebook kind of social blah blah. none of the negativity. We don't put up with that. And I love the people I'm connected to, strong business owners who understand it. Not all of them have it, not everybody feels the need, and that's the way it is in business. But there are great people I love being connected to, and I've gotten some great referrals from it as well. In fact, from LinkedIn, because of LinkedIn, and this is a shout out to LinkedIn, I've grown from having business in 6 states to 28 states and growing. And it's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. That's exactly, you took the words out of my mouth. I'm like, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is something that businesses like yourself and often kind of forget to do. It's the consistency. Like, the messaging is important, but the consistency is even more important.
Yes.
And trying to explain, and it's so funny because I don't take my own advice. I give out some good advice a lot. And a lot of times I don't take that advice. But one of the things that I do push is exactly what you said. You got to be consistent, because just because you put it out there once doesn't mean that the person's going to grab it, right?
Oh,
That
they don't.
information is not redundant if you do it multiple times. It may seem redundant to your closest friends and allies, but it's not, because there are people that at that time of day, they just scrolled over your video, or they just, they didn't look, they just were looking for something else. And out of the blue, they might stop on that same piece of content that you've put out there, maybe in a different way, multiple times, but it'll click with them that day, right?
Yes.
So,
It's all about the moment of the click.
right,
Right.
right.
So
Well,
you just said a lot there too, which made my mind just go whoosh in 20 different directions.
well, we're
But
perfect for each other in that regard, because that's what happens with me so frequently. But
right, it's the power of letting people know that it's there. I have people now, it's coming to me now, Nick. Just last week, someone called me, or 2 weeks ago, that has the services. She's been a member of mine for like 6 or 8 years. And suddenly she wants me to go in as a fringe benefit. You always like to hear that word.
yeah,
Going in to sign up, that's what I'm doing after this call, is driving an hour and a half away to a company where I'll sign up the employees on a fringe benefit. The company's giving them Legalshield because they see the need and how it could actually save them money.
sure. Yeah,
Employees are taking time off work to take care of private issues, personal issues, and often they don't talk about what it is, but they can go to work and know that it's being taken care of, in some cases, for them.
yeah.
And so that's powerful right there.
I think you're absolutely right, and those kind of benefits are necessary, and the company you work with, and gives that ability, right, to multiple sizes of companies too.
There are
Um,
many companies that do legal services. There are some bigger ones that do, say, the 5,000 plus employees, the big groups and stuff. But there's no company, and I'm proud to say this, there is no other company that has a dedicated network of law firms,
mhm,
so that all of our law firms know each other. Every other company gives you a list of lawyers that you call, but do they do work out of state? I'm not even, they don't, they'll give you another list, I guess. But we work nationwide to
mhm.
protect business owners. Some business owners have several locations in different states. We want you to know that that's there. And on the personal level, you might live in a state and your family's in 3 or 4 different states. And I'd like to share a story, what does that look like?
Sure.
There was a woman who lived in Hawaii, and I might get 1 or 2 states wrong, but her daughters were over in Kansas, and the son, who was the executor of her will, was in Washington State. And when she died, the son was not doing anything. He was not executing this will the way it should be. And the 2 sisters, and they were standing to inherit several $1,000,000.
Mhm.
So you don't just sit around and wait for brother that's not doing anything, right? Well, the one sister, they wanted to call a lawyer, and the one sister said, well, let me call my local lawyer. He'll know better than your legal thing there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do they refer to it as legal thing, right? Well, the sister called, and her lawyer said, well, I only do law in the state of Kansas. Okay. The other sister said, can I call my law firm now? And they called up Legalshield. And what happened next was that the lawyer in Kansas got on the phone with a lawyer in Hawaii and the attorney in Washington State. They had 3 lawyers on the phone, and they got the situation taken care of so that these sisters were able to get their couple $1,000,000 inheritance. And
Well,
that didn't cost her one dime over her monthly membership. It's a subscription membership.
yeah, that's amazing. To have a service like that, you get one lawyer involved and you think about the legal fees that you have to deal with, but getting three across different states and
Right.
all the different things that you'd have to pay for, forget it. If it was an inheritance, you're going to lose some of that inheritance.
Yeah, a good
For
deal.
sure.
And if the job of our attorneys is to resolve your issue as quickly and efficiently as possible, not keep you on the books billing you,
Yeah.
because they're already getting paid. They're getting paid very well, the law
Mhm.
firm itself. And so we know that they're there and they love what they do. We get to see our attorneys when we go to convention. The attorneys will come in and it's usually this big parade of, they'll bring some of the people from their law firm. So there'll be about 200 people on stage. That's just representing the law firms across the country. And they will tell stories of things that they've seen during that year. And I've never seen a lawyer cry before I've, at a convention. These guys get emotionally involved. I mean, they feel it. Not that they get, they don't get personal with a family. They can't. They're the lawyer. But
Yeah.
they feel it. They feel when they actually resolve a case where they kept someone from going to prison who was innocent, or they've helped a family, in that case, for example, helping them resolve a $1 million issue, whatever. They feel that. They're
Mhm.
human, right? And as we all say, I hate attorneys, right? And every lawyer will tell you everyone hates a lawyer until they need one.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
no, it's a good perspective to learn about. Again, I love the storytelling that you share, and I've seen some of these stories even in some of your posts. And I think that is a brilliant way, first of all, to market what you're doing, but also to kind of put it into respect that or perspective, so that people understand why the need is so important.
right?
Um, so I do
You
want to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm going to switch gears. So why don't you complete your thought?
Okay, I was going to say it's really not about those big stories. We tell those. It's more about what about the family that's sending their 18-year-old who is now an adult and they're sending them off to college, but they have no medical directives, no powers of attorney. And if something happens to your child, I had to tell my daughter this. If something happens to you and you are on a machine or you just can't talk, God forbid, who's going to make decisions for you? And my daughter said, well, Mom, you'll tell them what to do. No, the state of Colorado where she lives will not allow that, even if she lived in Texas where I am.
Mhm.
No, the state has a will for you if you don't have anything written. Welcome to adulthood.
Right.
And she said, Mom, where are those forms? I want to fill that out right now because it's important. If you want
Yeah.
your family making decisions for you, you better get the forms, right? And
Yeah.
that's one of the things we do at no cost.
That's amazing service, just like a lot of the other things you're saying. I think it's all critical, and I do think people should, contact you and talk to you a little bit more about, all the different services that you have. And on that same vein, is there anything we haven't talked about that you definitely want to share about, Legal Shield or anything else for that matter? And while you're thinking about that, I'll give you another one or two questions just to kind of keep your mind going. But I would love to know how your career as a musician um helped prepare you for your career today. Like, what are some things that really prepared you?
That is an amazing question. I think more than anything, and it took me years to understand the correlation, because in the music, it's all about discipline and focus. And it's the hours and hours of practice that no one sees, just like a lawyer,
Mhm.
right? They practice and it costs a lot to do what they do, and it's ongoing education. And there's all of that comes together. And no, I'm not a lawyer, but in what I do, it's understanding what they do so I can promote that to just everybody walking down the street, because Americans don't realize how often they could actually call a lawyer or should call a lawyer for advice. As I usually say when I go into benefit groups, for example, is you're asking the following question: what do you think I should do? And you're asking family, friends, and Facebook. So you're getting answers from people that know as much as you do or less, because some of those people aren't even in your state, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Anyone who has a will and moves to a new state, we have thousands of people moving into Texas every month. And that's all over the country too. I'm just speaking because I live here. But every one of those people needs a new will, because
Mhm.
wills are state specific. So people don't realize that many laws are state specific, and you need to talk to a lawyer, and talk to a lawyer before you make decisions, before you sign the contract. Oh, for goodness sakes, we sign contracts all the time, and we don't understand what they said. We sign them because we know we have to sign them to get whatever it is that we want. Well, I want that new house, so I have to sign these papers. I want that new car, I have to sign these papers. Yes, but you have a right to have your lawyer. But Nick, and you know something else I did not know? I had a contract once and I was told, you have 48 hours to get this back, or 24 hours. Well, I sent it into Legalshield, and I know they need up to 3 days to review a contract. And I was like, I need this back, or, I'm going to be in trouble, or it's not going to work, whatever. The lawyer called me and he said, Miss Lehman, that clock stopped the minute your lawyer got that document in his hand. He goes, I've got those papers now. There's no clock running. And I was like, what? Thank you. That whole new ball game. I didn't know that. Now, is that the case in everyone's state? I don't know. I don't give legal advice, guys. I just want you to know that it's best to call up the lawyer and ask. Just because your friend got some resolution doing something doesn't mean your case is the exact same thing. And you won't know until maybe it's all over and it didn't work out the way you wanted it to. Call a lawyer. And these services, I don't know any other service, Nick, any service in any industry that has undercut the cost of the normal way of getting help. When you're talking, the average attorney costs around $300 an hour. Someone in New York, when I mentioned a business attorney, say for $400 or $500, she said, are you kidding? Try $800 an hour. What? You're talking for a family on the personal plan you're talking $30 a month. So an entire year might not even be the cost of one attorney, 1 hour with an attorney. It's mind-blowing to me.
So Jane, I do want to come back to that question about, like, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you feel is really important to share about you or about the company you work for?
I guess the main thing would be about the company and the work that I do is that it's only been in the last 3 or 4 months where suddenly everything has been coming together to where I understand why I'm so passionate. It's not about money. It's never about money. I have people coming to me that say, you're still with that company? Do you still do that legal thing? Here we are again with that wonderful legal thing. Yes, I'm the legal thing. Just call me the legal thing lady, right? And they're now coming back saying, well, I know someone. I think you need to talk to this person. You need to talk to that person. And I've had other things come to me. The company itself has given me a group where there's no one taking care of it, and handed that to me. And I've had other people, a broker this morning, right before we talked, an insurance broker called me from another state saying, I got your name and I'd like to work with you. Great. Because it's all about getting in and talking to more people at one time. That's where my passion lies, to educate people on the savings and the protection and the peace of mind you get knowing that you have a company there that will look over everything else in your life. The insurance policies, that'll look over your utilities anytime you're being mistreated, you name it. And we're the only company in the US that has a 24/7 emergency protection. If you ever are being detained, questioned, or arrested for any reason, you have a Miranda rights, which are to remain silent or to call an attorney. We give you that 24/7. So there's so much more to it,
Yeah, we could talk forever, but I do appreciate the time that you've shared and the things that you've shared with us. I think it's important that each case is different. Each person is unique, and I'm sure that there's so much more that you can explain to potential clients or customers. And I do urge my listeners to connect with Jane. She provides a terrific service and great stories as to why, true stories as to why you need this. And for a little cost, to save a peace of mind is so important nowadays. So Jane, I really appreciate you being on the show. We'll have all your contact information in the show notes. And you've been a terrific guest. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us in another episode of That Sounds Terrific. Don't forget to check out the show notes and our website at thatsoundsterrific.com to find the contact information and the best ways to volunteer with the organizations that we feature. If you know someone that is doing terrific things and think they should be featured in a future episode, be sure to email us their name, contact info, and short description of what they're doing at thatsoundsterrific@gmail.com. If you like our show, give us a 5-star rating and give us some social media love by liking our Facebook page, That Sounds Terrific. Follow us on Twitter at Sounds Terrific 2 and Instagram at Sounds Terrific. We love hearing your feedback on how to make our show sound even more terrific. Till next time.